Two surprise teams meet in the desert on Sunday when the Miami Dolphins travel out there to play the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are obviously a surprise. Everybody's been talking about them here for the last few days. 3-0 on the year. Nobody had them at 3-0 right now, mainly because nobody had them beating the New England Patriots in Week 2 on the road, a game in which Arizona was a 13.5-point underdog. They did win that game. They were home underdogs last week against the Eagles. They dominated the Philadelphia Eagles. They were clearly the better team. Looked like if the two teams played again, Arizona would have won again. Very surprising, the manner in which they beat the Eagles. So we know Arizona's been a big surprise. But Miami, even though they're 1-2, they've really surprised me. Because coming into the season, like a lot of other people, I looked at this Miami team and I thought, what? I mean, where's the offense? How are they going to score? Shipped off Brandon Marshall in the offseason. Really, their only proven playmaker at the wide receiver position. I mean, I know Devon Best is a proven wide receiver, but he's a slot guy. Limited as far as weapons at the wide receiver position. Reggie Bush has been mainly a third down type back throughout most of his NFL career. And rookie quarterback Ryan Tannehill, limited experience playing quarterback, period. Started his career at Texas A&M as a wide receiver. So I thought the Dolphins were going to be one of the worst teams in the league heading into the season. And Week 1 against the Houston Texans was just about what I expected to see from them all year. They were just blown out in that game. Tannehill looked horrible. And I thought the Dolphins were on their way to a 1-15, 2-14 type year. However, over the last 2 weeks, they have shown a pulse and then some. Handily beating the Oakland Raiders in Miami in Week 2. And then they should have beat the Jets last week, losing to their division rival New York Jets in overtime. Their kicker, Dan Carpenter, had a chance to win that game, had a field goal to win that game. He missed it. Dolphins outplayed the Jets for a lot of that game, really in the trenches where they were getting them. This Miami offensive line is not talked about, but one of the better offensive lines in the league, particularly run blocking. The Dolphins, we talked about Reggie Bush being primarily a third down back throughout most of his career. Well, this year, he was an effective every down back. And no doubt some of the credit should go to Bush for that. He seems to have improved, seems to have blossomed, but that Miami offensive line opening some holes, that they deserve a lot of credit too. An impressive offensive line full of former first-round draft picks, so they should be impressive. They spent a lot of money on that offensive line. This week, Bush is out. Bush has been their best player this year on offense, and he is out with an injury. Lamar Miller, the rookie from Miami, look for him to get a lot of Bush's carries this week. You know, the total in this game is 39.5. Arizona is 6-point favorite on BETDAQ, 39.5 the total. And if that total sounds a little low, it's because we don't expect much offense. Miami's offense, even though Miami surprised me over the last couple weeks, as I said, they've really shown a pulse, and they've shown that they're better than I thought they were going to be. Still clearly a limited team on offense. Without Reggie Bush this week, going up against his Cardinals defense that is second in the league in scoring defense, despite playing prolific offenses like New England and Philadelphia, it would certainly be a surprise if the Miami offense went out there and lit up the scoreboard. And the Arizona Cardinals offense, I mean, for as good as the Cardinals start has been, the 3-0, first in the NFC West, I mean, I'm sure Cardinals fans are on cloud nine right now. When you look at the nuts and bolts of it, the offense, it makes you wondering, is this team, the old smoke and mirrors expression, how are they pulling this off? 31st in the league right now, next to last in total offense. The conservative game plan, the conservative play calling, and we saw a couple of years ago when Kurt Warner was quarterback of this team, Ken Wisenhunt, the same staff, they weren't conservative at all. They were throwing the ball around plenty on offense. So you'd have to guess that the new philosophy in Arizona has a lot to do with the fact that they don't have much confidence in quarterback Kevin Kolb. Now, Kolb was, of course, beaten out for the starting job in the preseason by John Skelton. Skelton went down with injury in the first game, and Kolb has played pretty well. I mean, hasn't turned the ball over too much, hasn't made mistakes, but, again, 31st in the league right now in total offense. When you have weapons like Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best wide receivers in the league, Beanie Wells, certainly a talented running back. He might not have really fulfilled his potential yet in the NFL. I think he's a lot like Darren McFadden in that respect. But when you have the weapons Arizona does, they have more weapons on offense than the Miami Dolphins, for example. They probably shouldn't be quite as bad on offense as they are. But you know what? I mean, again, the play calling has been conservative. There's clearly a philosophy there. They don't want to let Kevin Kolb lose the game for them. I mean, they know they have a good defense. They know if that defense can keep them in games, they can win a lot of games like the San Francisco 49ers did last year. And so far it's working. So hard to argue with what they're doing in Arizona. Now in terms of this game, again, Arizona is a 6-point favorite. For some reason, I lean towards the Miami Dolphins here. Miami Dolphins 5-1 on the road against the spread in their last 6 games. Now, I know that stat might not mean much when you consider that Arizona in their last 7 home games are 6-1 against the number. So those kind of negate each other, but the Dolphins have quietly been a good team to back here throughout, most of the last 12 months, 10-3 against the number in their last 13 games. This team is tougher than you think. They're tough on defense. I know they're only average statistically, but they're definitely going to be able to limit that Arizona offense this week. Again, we mentioned the low total, 39.5. And Miami's offense, that offensive line, hey, I can't, after talking for 2 minutes about how Miami was limited on offense and about how they didn't have many playmakers, that's true. I believe that, and so I don't think we're going to see a lot of points in this game. I do lean towards the under, even though the total is so low at 39.5. But for some reason, I have a feeling here, the Dolphins coming in as a road underdog, 6 points. 6 points a lot in this game. It's a lot when you expect a low-scoring type game, the type of game I expect here. Am I dumb enough to underestimate the Cardinals for a 4th straight week? I mean, I haven't bet against the Cardinals yet, but I haven't bet on them either. I haven't gotten in on any of this positive momentum as far as the Arizona Cardinals go. But so am I dumb enough to sort of buck that and go up against it? No, I'm not. I'm not going to back the Miami Dolphins and their rookie quarterback minus Reggie Bush on the road. I'm just not going to do it. However, if I had to make a play on this game, which thankfully we don't. I mean, that's what the great thing is. I don't have to pick every game. We don't have to bet on every game. We can look at this whole slate of games and only bet on 2, 3, 4 games, which is what I do every week. And this is going to be one of those games that I lay off of. But I just have a suspicion, a sneaking suspicion, 6 points might be a lot here. Miami Dolphins could keep this one close.